Welcome back to today's Genesee County Primary Election Forum here at the White Horse. I'm Tom Sumner. Today we're exploring the race for the ninth District seat on the Genesee County Board of Commissioners. This hour will meet the two Republicans running for the seat currently held by incumbent Democrat Peggy Adams. Before I get to the introductions, I want to thank the White Horse and their staff and all of you who have gathered here today. I want to thank singer Heather Jones and accompanist Randy Dunkley for providing music during the breaks at this live presentation. Heather is leaving the area this fall. She will be missed by a great many local music fans. Now, the introductions. In a moment, I will introduce the candidates, and they will be given an opportunity to make brief opening statements. But first, our esteemed panelists. I'll begin by reintroducing our esteemed panel of premier political pundits. They are Paul Rosicki from Mott Community College. Good to see you, Paul. Thanks.
Good to be here.
And George Moss from the University of Michigan Flint. George, always a pleasure. And last but certainly not least, our media guest panelist, MLive's Blake Thorne from the Flint Journal. Now on to the candidates and the rules of engagement. If you don't know by now, there are two Republicans running in the August primary for the 9th District seat on the Genesee County Board of Commissioners. They are David Martin. Welcome, David. It's good to meet you.
Very much.
And Jim Slezak. Jim, thanks for joining us. Good to see you again.
My pleasure, Tom. Thanks for having me.
In a moment, I will give each of you 90 seconds for an opening statement. We'll begin the questions from the panel. There will be an opportunity for a closing statement at the end as well. On to the forum, but first a few guidelines. Time is tight. We're going to try to keep it equal, so try to be specific and brief when answering. Once again, I know that's an oxymoron in any political discussion, but you will have 90 seconds for each answer. When you hear this bell, you have 15 seconds to finish your answer. We'll start the opening statements with David Martin, and the first question will go to Jim Slezak. Then we'll try to rotate which candidate answers first and last throughout the rest of the forum. I caution the panelists. By now, most of the people who've been watching, listening, or attending these forums know that I might single out George Moss in this, that you have 30 seconds in which to set up context for each of your questions. If you get to 30 seconds, you will hear the bell, and I will ask you to ask your question. Now for the opening statements, remember you have 90 seconds. When you hear the bell, you have 15 seconds to finish. And please address your comments to the panel or the audience and not to each other. We want a forum, not a debate. Mr. Martin, we start with you. You have 90 seconds for an opening statement.
Thank you. I first wanted just a little introductory. I was a councilman in the city of Davison, and I retired from the Air Force, came back to my hometown, was drawn to here. During my time in the Air Force, I saw several communities. I've seen several different platforms of how communities are run, and come back to my county, I'd like to implement some of the things that are in the information age and kind of draw us out of the industrial age that we've been in for, 50, 60 years now. I think there's some good ideas that can be used for the budget. I think there's good use for entrepreneurship in providing county services, as well as the shared services and combined purchasing power of community assets. My wife is an Army reservist, and she's a massage therapist here in Flint. And I just have several grandchildren in the area, too, so I have a real vested interest, having graduated from Davison High School and giving back to the entire community.
Okay, 90 seconds, Jim Slezak.
Well, thanks again, Tom, for having me. Great to be here. Just a little bit about myself. Jim Slezak, 47, self-employed business owner in Davison. Graduated from Davison High School in '85, went to Yale University, graduated in '89 with a BA in political science. Have run our business for many years, and then back in '08 ran for my first political office and won, and I was a state representative for 2 years. Had the honor of going to Lansing and serving the 50th district. Married to my wife Kathleen. I have three wonderful children, Bridget, Gabrielle, and Jack. Love sports, love the community, love to see Genesee County grow, and I know I can make a difference here at this level.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to round one of the questions. First question will go to Jim Slazak first from Paul Rosicki.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank both candidates for being here and for taking the time to join us for this forum. One of the big issues this year has been roads and road repair. What role could the county play in helping to rebuild the roads in the area? And in particular, would you favor a tax increase of any kind, particularly a gas tax, to fund road repair?
That's a great question, because I know my car's been in to get fixed. My brother's just got out of the shop, and it's not just ours, but it's everybody's. Our roads, I would say, are the worst in the state, if not worst in the Midwest area. What we need to do, and what I can bring to the table as being a former state representative, is what we haven't done as a county commission is actually gone to our state and federal, more federal, to get more federal dollars back here. And I'm not just saying going and asking. We need to go and demand what we need to get things done here. We sit back and do not too much to get this done. We go to meetings in Lansing, our county commission. I was there. I was at the meetings. They come for a meeting once or twice a year. They don't give their specific ask. I know what to ask for on the state and federal level to get this job done to fix our roads and bridges.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next question goes to Blake Thorne, and we'll have Jim Slazak start the responses. Or wait a minute, did I you know, if I only do that once per forum, it's been a good day. I'm sorry, you have 90 seconds, David Martin, and then we move to Blake Thorne.
It may not be profound, but I'll go for it. I do know that Michigan ranks around 37th in tax dollars returned for what we pay into the federal government. But on the county level, I know the road commission works hard. I know several people on the road commission. I know a lot of the retired road commission guys. And I know the effort. I was on the Metro Alliance. I do know what it takes to maintain the surface roads and the primary routes and the arteries through Genesee County, and how it impacts economic. The only thing I can say is we have the resources. We have the domestic fuel. If we were to pump it, if we were to lower the tax, with the federal government mandating CAFE standards going crazy up to 50 miles per gallon, that means we're consuming less gas. Hybrids and electric roads sharing the same wear and tear on the roads, not providing gas tax. We need to encourage people to travel. We need to lower the tax or lower the gas price, keep the tax the same, lower the price of gas, and we'll get people out there touring Michigan, seeing sights, traveling to work, being able to go more places, do more things on the road. And if we'd use our resource, reuse the fuel, we would generate the road tax. We just are encouraging people to save it and not burn gas, and therefore we're not generating revenue.
All right, thank you. They switched the order of the pundits on me here a little bit. So the next question comes from George Moss, and because I almost skipped over you, David, we'll start the responses with you.
Okay, I want to welcome both of you to the forum, and want to commend you for your candidacy. When I see Republicans running for office, I'm always impressed because you'll know you're in a Democratic county. And I know you're sincere about running, because if you were not, you would be running as Democrats. So what then, as Republicans, do you see as the principles upon which you're running that differentiates you as a Republican from the Democrats who are running in a Democratic stronghold?
As a conservative, and I wouldn't identify myself purely as a Republican, as a conservative, which the home base would be the Republican Party, would not find a home in the Democrat Party. I sit around the coffee shops, talk to my neighbors, talk to my church members. We talk the same things. We talk sanctity of life. We talk hunting and our firearms. We talk how our children should be safe going to school. We share the same values, and yet there is that long and entrenched labor view that they must vote Democrat because all the generations in their family have. Those values need to change. 70,000 union jobs left. There's only 3,000 or 5,000 left. The only unions out there right now really are in the municipal and in the school districts. That is not a revenue producer. Those are I don't want to say takers because they provide a service. It's not what I intend. But we need to look at other ways of generating work. And the union and the Democrat way and the mindset in the industrial age has just gone by the wayside pretty much. And unless we bring back manufacturing, we need to invest in more research and development and more healthcare type businesses. And therefore, we can expand businesses outside the union and we'll get stronger in our common values.
Thank you. Same question goes to Jim Slazak.
I'm glad you brought up the point of Dem and Republican in Genesee County because I've never thought of it. Even when I ran the first time as being a Democrat or a Republican, I just thought I was a person running for office to help all the people of the district, of our state. I think we put ourselves we pigeonhole ourselves into a little box, and we say, oh, I'm Democrat, so I can only do this. I'm Republican, I can only do that. You know what? If you have a better idea than me, that can get the job done, that can get me from point A to point B. Okay. I'll go along. I'll go with it. You know what? And if you have the credit, that's fine. If I have a better idea, we should use that idea. We all just need to work together, which we never have, because you might look at me and the first thing you might see is that I may be on the ballot as a Republican. Yes, I have some different values than you do, and I'm not saying you're a Democrat or Republican, but why can't we just sit down and talk and hash out what's best for our county, our state, our country, and get it done? And I don't care who you are, what your name is, or what you've done in the past. Let's get it done together. What's best for everyone.
Thank you. Now we move on to Blake Thorne, and the first question will go to Jim Slazak.
Thanks, Tom. A recurring topic in the earlier conversation with the Democratic candidates was economic development. I'm curious what each of your ideas would be, specific suggestions for bolstering the economic picture here in Genesee County.
Who are we going to?
Goes to you first, Jim.
It's going to me. I think it all goes back to the county commission, the 9 together to bolster, is to actually come together and work together as a unit and not as individuals on their own individual topics that they bring to the office. I mean, everybody's going to have their own little niche that they want done, but they have to look at the big picture before they get down to the small picture. It may sound a little backwards, but we need to go and come together and then go out. And it comes back to going to our state and federal level. We need the dollars here. We don't get them here. Everybody else gets them. We don't. Why? We don't fight for them. We don't go out and really put in the effort to go. How many times does the county commission go to Lansing, to the representatives, and stand at their doors, at their offices, and say, we need this for Genesee County, and don't leave until you get it? Or, I'm not saying we're going to drive to Washington, but we need to have more of a presence. We need our representatives from Washington. When they come here, it's not just a hi, hello, how are you doing, great job. No, we need to tell them exactly what they need to do to make this a better place. I know when I was in office in Lansing, everybody told me what I needed to do. And you know what? We worked hard there to get things done, and we brought quite a bit of money back to the townships. I know Davison Township, where part of the district that I represented.
All right, thanks. David Martin, same question.
Economic development, there's so many layers to this. When I look at the 9th District, I look at really all of Genesee County. We have unique things in the 9th District with agriculture and a lot of the parks and rec. But it really depends on our housing and our economic income for our families on how Flint and how the rest of Genesee County goes with the airport and with the plants out on the southern side and the western side that we don't have in the 9th District. So I'm looking at the entire product when I want to represent the 9th District, so that we have, I don't want to go and, I'll take any source of revenue we can get at the time, but I don't want to have to beg Washington for any money. I want us to be the engine of economics here. I want us to have industry. I want us to have entrepreneur things that branch out on the internet and are selling things nationally and internationally right here from Genesee County. I want to solve crime so that people are attracted to come here. I want to have infrastructure solid so that the water is easy to get, for industry and for businesses. The electric and the gas utilities are available. Bundling products for the if they have to build so that they can get their inspections done. I want us to be the engine of economics. I don't want to have to go and get grants. I would like us to have it continuously for the future to be right here in Genesee County.
All right, we move on to round two. The question goes back to Paul Rosicki. The first response will come from David Martin.
In recent years, there's been a lot of conflict between the county board and the major department heads, the sheriff, prosecutor, treasurer, county clerk, and others occasionally, and a lot of lawsuits. What would you do to, in an era of tight budgets, what would you do to reduce that conflict and those lawsuits?
I know that there are the conflicts, and it comes down to leadership to an extent, but they are political offices. They're all beholden to someone. And they're not beholden to the board. They're beholden to the voters and the residents of Genesee County. But it still can have some leadership involved in that. I do have an offshoot idea that should work to prevent lawsuits, and the lawsuits, preventing the lawsuits would pay for the idea if we had common law grand juries. And if the county had a common law grand jury, if there was malfeasance, if there was a recall when somebody had something of wrongdoing in office, the grand jury would hear it. And the people, 25, 30 people in the county, would decide if there's merit to it, if there's malfeasance, and we dig it out there instead of throwing lawsuits and having petty infighting. It's an idea that hasn't grown a lot of legs in the local area, but I think nationally it's growing legs, and I think return to liberty and freedom, you're going to hear more about common law grand juries, and that recalls and the lawsuits would be a part of that.
All right, Jim Slazak, same question.
Well, I think you're always going to have any kind of conflict, and I'm going to come back to the same point again. Is I've never seen anybody in Genesee County work together on anything at any level. It looks like they are, but when it's all said and done, we don't get very many things accomplished here in Genesee County. We don't keep moving forward. We take 2 steps backwards to take 1 step forward. We need to stop doing that. We have so much in this county that's beneficial, not just to us, but to everyone else or in surrounding counties, from the universities and everything that we don't take full advantage of. When I ran for office the first time as a state representative, I ran as a Democrat. I'm running as a Republican now. Am I different? No, I wouldn't say I'm different at all. It's just that I'm running as a Republican now and a Democrat. Are my values different? No. I think it comes down to the label. And I've always said, even in Lansing, I said, there shouldn't be a name on a bill, it should be a number. Because some bills passed just because they had a name on them. And other bills never got put up because they had a name on them. We need to stop this infighting to get the job resolved. Whether it's the county commission to the prosecutor, we should be able to sit down like we're sitting down right now and have a discussion on what's right and what's wrong. I mean, I don't think most of the people put their egos, they bring their egos in with them. Does that mean I'm cut off?
That's the cutoff. The second bell is the cutoff. Have a little trouble with the EQ here. Some of that's crowd noise, and we apologize as we try and make it so that some people can hear. And where are we in the rundown here? Are we? All right. Jim just completed his response, so David Martin has that question now. Or did you respond to that already?
Yep.
So we're moving on to George Moss. All right, George Moss, you have the next question, and it will go first to Jim Slazak.
I think that Mr. Slezak used some of my time, so I'm going to take my time back. You've been in the state legislature from the 50th district. I want to ask you a systemic question. I think that wherever I see power concentrated, I see them turning off voices that is not in some concert with other voices. I think government listens best when you have numbers. So I don't know if that's your experience in Lansing, but I want to ask you, do you see any need, based on your experience in Lansing, to have a more camaraderie among the counties so that they speak to Lansing in more than a single voice, but maybe in a group voice, maybe regional or whatever, but certainly not from one county to another, 83 counties speaking separately. So what do you see as a way of increasing the power of the counties so the centralized power in Lansing will be more prone to listen to those at the board level?
The numbers are overwhelming. When you have large numbers come to Lansing, it makes you stop and listen. And look, one case we had, I kept getting 200 emails a day from an organization that wanted a bill run. Every day in my inbox only on the committee, 200. And the same with everybody on our committee, 200. They kept visiting Lansing every day. And they wouldn't stop, and they wouldn't stop. And it was just the numbers that they brought in until we finally hit. Leadership said we need to look at this issue. And it's the numbers. We need to get together. Other counties, what's it going to hurt for us to get together with someone else and ask what they're doing to make us better or help out? It's only going to improve our county. And that's what we're here for, is to improve our county. And so numbers are a fabulous thing. It doesn't hurt to be an individual, though. Everybody can still be their individual and call. I had many individuals just call on their own issues, which you should do. And as a person in office, you should take every issue seriously and look at it individually, whether there's a large group or because it's some of those smaller issues that maybe one person calls that will affect most of the state. So we do.
Got 15
Go ahead.
seconds. You want to finish your
Nope, I'm
sentence?
good.
All right, David Martin, same question.
Yes, numbers are going to matter, and to get those numbers, we have things like the I-69 corridor consortium and other ways of combining people together with the same mindset, with the same basic needs. Genesee County would have more of a business need, hopefully in the future. It would be more like Oakland County, maybe a little different than agriculture in the thumb areas. But this I-75 corridor could get together and identify what they need in Lansing and put a unified voice together. Technology has changed everything. I mean, our counties and townships are designed based on agriculture 200 years ago. And just because we have cities 10 miles apart from each other doesn't mean anything in the age of cars and telephones and the internet. We just had an anniversary of Baseline Road being surveyed for the Northwest Ordinance. And townships were a big key to the Northwest Ordinance. And our Constitution for Michigan reads almost like the Northwest Ordinance. And I think if we get the voice back to the people at the township level, county level, because of the size of service that are needed, we could really make a difference. People need to be participatory, and it just can't be the elected officials. They have to really have people participating so that the elected officials know what the real flow and feel is, and that they'll write the letters and they'll contact the legislatures and not just hear from the elected officials.
All right, thank you. The next question comes from Blake Thorne and goes first to David Martin.
The county recently agreed to a partnership with the city of Flint, which puts the county responsible for certain day-to-day operations in a few of the city's biggest parks. Understanding that the city is financing part of this program, what are your thoughts on partnerships like this? What should the county's role be in partnering with the financially strapped city of Flint?
First of all, I'd like to say the Parks and Recs are a big issue because of the 9th District having a lot of the Mott Lake area up through the Holloway Reservoir. Several beautiful parks, probably underused to some extent, and the people need to know their jewels out there. Having said that it's a resource for us, I get a little leery when I see government expand in something that private industry is better at doing. There are entrepreneurial companies out there, small businesses that could mow grass, and it may not have to be a county worker. Now, I know we have temporary seasonal workers and so forth, and the cost isn't going to be tremendous. But that doesn't help the growth of Genesee County as far as business development when it's all just government workers. So I think that the fact that they're going to work with the city is a good handout and a good hand up for their resources in the city. But there's other things we need to do too to make sure that the Flint and Genesee County are on the same page as far as multi-layered tax areas and zonings for business growth and housing, so that we don't drive people away, that we have appropriate mix of housing availability and costs, and we don't gentrify downtown, but we still look out after the people that may be disenfranchised after these long unemployment time periods. So I think there's a lot of work that can be done as long as there's communication lines open, because the way that Flint goes is the way Genesee County is going to go.
Jim Slazak, same question.
I believe that partnering can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. And pretty much everything we do, partnering with the parks, I don't know if it's going to be such a great thing. I think we tend to shy away from the private industry in Genesee County and what we can do. Have we even looked at going out and what private industry can do to keep parks and recs up? That's one thing we don't do enough of, is we get on a committee, they get one thing put in front of them, and it says, okay, we're going to do this till it passes. We need to stop doing that. We need to actually think outside the box and how we're going to do some upkeep and all the different parks. I know, being in Davison, I was just out at Holloway Reservoir a few weeks ago. Great time. And yes, it needs to be maintained, but now are we going to pay extra above and beyond what we pay to keep everything done? I don't think so. We need to actually, we can partner, but we need to go slow and take it a step by step.
All right, thank you. And next we have Paul Rosicki, and the first question goes to Jim Slazak.
In Genesee County, fracking has been a big issue, although it's not directly a county activity as such. What are your views on the issue of hydraulic fracking? Do you support it because of the jobs, or do you oppose it because of the environmental concerns?
I think that's kind of a catch-22 right there with jobs. We need jobs in this county. We need jobs in this state. You know, to get oil. Fracking, though, we look at the Great Lakes, what surrounds us. You know, all the water that surrounds us. It takes so much water to do the fracking. Do we waste water that is maybe not going to be drinkable for another 100 years, 200 years, 500? I don't know. I don't know the process that well to how good the water is right after we use it. But the millions and millions of gallons, you know, does it outweigh the benefits of doing that? I personally don't know on that, and I'll tell you right up, I'd have to do more research on it to really give you a definite answer on that, but I mean, it's almost a 50-50 right now.
David Martin, same question.
Well, thank you. I truly believe fracking can be done safely. It's been done for decades, and only because it becomes an environmental issue in the green environment that we live in, with the climate change issues that are front page. It's the doll of the media. And I've been called a flat earther, being a retired meteorologist, and I don't believe in climate change because the sun changes and the earth wobbles. And the same thing goes with fracking. It's a proven technology. It's done very deep, so I'm not concerned about. Davison has its own water system, for example, on wells. I am not fearful for the wells because it hasn't proven anywhere else in the country that it's ever, come up that deep, that different. Of course, now they measure seismic activity with better equipment. So now they're telling us that there's more earthquakes out there. Well, I believe it's the same thing as when you buy a red car and you think it's the best thing out there and the prettiest car. Then you realize that the stoplight that everybody else has a red car because you bought one. So now it's just an attention, and people are starting to kind of nitpick at some of the details on the science. The science, I believe, is proven. I think it provides jobs. We need to drive the domestic price of gas down so we use more and take care of our roads. I have no problem with fracking.
All right, thank you very much. The next question will come from George Moss and goes first to David Martin.
Okay. I want to ask you about what I think is going on at the state level. They are taking money out of one coffer and putting it somewhere else, and they're asking us to do the roads through another raising of the gasoline tax. robbing Peter to pay Paul and taking money out of that call for putting it over here. What can the county? I want to see what the county can do, a more activist county board. What can the county do to make sure that the monies that are going to Lansing are coming back to the county, and those monies that we're sending over there are being spent for what they're being sent over there for? Is there some role that the county can play in making sure that that happens?
I wish I could wave a magic wand and change our tax structure altogether. We shouldn't be sending all of our money to the state and putting our hand out for some of it to come back. That's our money. It was earned in this county, and it's ours. It should be taking care of our resources. Same thing on the national level. We should be paying our local governments a percentage of our property and our income, and then a percentage to the state and a percentage to the national level to take care of defense. But we don't. We send it all away from here. Very little that is kept here. Of course, we're the ones that collect it and then disperse it up to these other levels, but we don't get to keep it. I don't see as a county level we can make a big difference immediately, but I think we need to get with other associations that are local municipal-sized governments and push for that so that the money stays here in the first place. I don't think it's going to change anything in the 2-year term that's coming up for this election, but the discussion needs to be brought up and the money needs to stay here.
Jim Slazak, same question.
Being in Lansing for a brief 2 years, I saw firsthand that the money that came in didn't go back. And even though you fought and fought and fought, it basically came down to the leadership in Lansing, both sides, and what they wanted to do. If you didn't have the leadership role, your county was pretty much out of luck. And I like to keep my money in my pocket. And my wife likes to keep my money in her pocket too. You know, but it's still here in this county. And right now, we still have to send it out, but things need to change. And, you know, we can be cutting edge if we want to stand up and think outside the box and go outside the box and say, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore. This doesn't benefit us as a state even. It doesn't come back and help the people that we send it away, we get pennies back. Are you going to give me $1 and think you're going to get that $1 back if I'm Lansing? No, it's not going to happen. We need in a perfect world, we would be able to keep our money and do that.
All right. Next question comes from Blake Thorne and goes first to Jim Slazak.
This may seem like a simple question, but I think it's an important one. What's your vision for the future of Genesee County? What specifically would you like to see us have that we don't now or build upon for the future?
More jobs, for one thing. We need to, and I've said it for years, and I've always looked at it throughout time. We've never diversified what we've done. From when I was a child, I moved over here in the early 70s from Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids has diversified into many different industries. We came over here and we were an automobile industry. From that, we should have taken on new industry and built upon that throughout the years. This hasn't just happened overnight to Genesee County, what's happened with the jobs leaving, the automobile industry leaving. This happened over a long period of time. But I think it starts with us. It starts with the county. It starts with the county commissioners, the people in charge, to actually get in front of these businesses and get in front of these to stop the people from leaving. We need to go into the future. We need the new technologies. We need to start building up ourselves. Everything you hear on the news about Genesee County hasn't been real great. We need to build ourselves up. We need to promote ourselves better. We sit back and let everybody tell us what they think about us. We need to tell everybody about who we are and what we're going to do for them.
Same question, David Martin.
Future Genesee County. Again, of course, 9th District is a focus to make sure the east side of the county is taken care of as far as our housing prices and jobs available anywhere in Genesee County or going across county lines, as long as our people can work and then come back in our stores and buy things and of course keep up their homes. when I drive through Genesee County, too much concrete, too many empty lots, and it's all a sign of decline. And decline has been on the horizon for a long, long time. My fear with the decline is when we do come back, when the economy and jobs do come back, is that areas that have been called blight will be in perpetuity, named as blight, and eminent domain takes over, and central planning follows closely behind with our industrialized thinking we've had for 40 or 50 years. We can't go down that road. We have to have multi-use ideas. We have to have multi-zoned areas so that the economy and the free market builds these places back up, and it has the mixture automatically as the people want and the prices they want, and not the grand city planning by the government. So we need to get the jobs back here, get the economy going, and have the things in place so that the zoning and so forth can make those things happen.
All right, thank you very much. Go on to round 4, and coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll have our closing statements. The round 4 goes, we start back with Paul Rosicki, and the first question will go to David Martin.
30 years ago, the county voted on the possibility of a county executive. We voted it down. Currently, of the 83 counties in Michigan, 4 of them have an executive or a county manager. What are your views of Genesee County looking at the possibility of an elected county executive or a county manager?
That's a good question. The issue comes up being elected, and to get a qualified person to run to be elected. Not to say there isn't a qualified person out there, but who's going to take on that public job, that ego job, or is it just going to be ego and not really have the skills? How do we attract the talented people that are in the background to step forward and do something like that? Macomb County just went, Sheriff Haskell took over as their county executive, probably making a difference down there. Obviously, Oakland County has an industry base and a business base that has not hurt them for their style of management that they have with an executive because the industry's there. A place like Wayne County and Genesee County, politics play a big part. And I think that a strong, qualified executive could make a big difference and have some power over the departments, as long as the board can control the budget, so that the board always had some power to as a checks and balance on the other activities. I see no problem with it. I'm just fearful that our county may not be as large enough in population anymore to have the pool for a homegrown person to be elected that would want to take the challenge. Not that they're not qualified, but that's a spotlight job, and we'd have to draw it from our own residents.
Jim Slazak, same question.
There'd have to be very, very specific criteria for that position, and that person or those people that would run for that are probably not going to run for that spot here in Genesee County. Not because we're good, bad, whatever, indifferent. It's just that they're out doing what they're doing and successful at it. And not that they're not going to help, they will still help. Those people still help. And they're the names we don't ever hear. I don't think that a manager, I think we have too many managers right now. And to put one in charge, I think it's just going to put more people in this county right now. We need to have some more affairs put in order before we actually have one person that takes charge and sets the precedent on what's going to happen.
All right, thank you. The next question goes to George Moss, and responding first will be Jim Slazak.
I want to pick up on the idea that Mr. Martin had about multiple use idea. Given the fact that the tax base is not coming back for a while, we're not going to have the monies we've had in the past. What are some services in this multiple use idea that the county can share with the city and different counties can share with each other that would in fact have a shared cost attached to it, so that no one district is paying what is beyond his means, and yet the services are not being hurt and hampered by the lack of a tax base in some as opposed to some of the others.
Shared services, when you get into public safety, you get into the situation of public safety with your police, fire. Are they going to be able to make that difference to another county as a shared service? Are they going to be able to get there when they're supposed to be there? Yes, that would be great if we could. It's going to be a tough thing to do. I think medical right now. I think our medical here in this county is outstanding. And like I said before, we need to promote that more. We need more counties to they should actually be coming more to us and using facilities that we have which would improve our county if we could bring more people into our county to do that. But most people right now don't want to come into our county, and we need to change that. And it's our own attitude that needs to change.
David, same question.
If we go to the zoning idea, a multi-use, layered type zoning, and use it wisely, we have to avoid government being the answer. We have to avoid funding those by TIFs, where we expect the revenue to come and the revenue doesn't come, then we have to use it out of the general fund. As a matter of fact, hopefully we wouldn't have to do any bonding of any kind to fund some of these things. We do have to watch just to make sure that government doesn't get in the way of the progress, mandate certain things, let the market take it. I think we could bundle just the type of inspections and get with the utilities to make sure that they can flow easy so that these things can be built and provided. We don't want to, as I said before, gentrify an area because we made it attractive just for an upscale person. Placemaking has its place as far as the ideas of what current people want, but I'm not a fan of taking grants and then having a placemaking that's only half done, and then it's a burden on the city of Flint or us, for example, to complete it. So I think if we use it wisely and encourage the growth, because we don't want to give a tax incentive so big to somebody that the other mom and pop businesses that are already established have to pick up the cost for the services because we gave a tax break to somebody. So it has to be a level playing field, a level tax, and a level encouragement, and a level zoning.
Okay, thank you. The next question comes from Blake Thorne, and we'll go first to David Martin.
Currently, there's a firm evaluating the county's internal spending controls. Some early reports from this operation pointed to a high amount of risk, high amount of inconsistency, lack of checks and balances with the county's internal spending. What is your take on findings like that? What do you think can be done to address potential problems that they're showing up?
It kind of amazes me, even on the small city municipal level, how repeat audit findings can come up and not be addressed. It bothers me. A business wouldn't allow that to happen. And why they would be allowed, especially at the level I'm reading about in the papers, for things that are in place already and not used. Why are small purchases made by credit card by just about anybody when the purchase could have been made by bulk as it's written in guidelines, and then we could have saved money and actually been productive. And that also gets departments talking to each other when they have to come up with their budgets and share these resources. All I know is leadership needs to make sure if the audit has a finding, it must be fixed. It's incredulous to me that you have findings over and over again, especially ones that you can drive a Mack truck through, and they don't get addressed. So the board needs to look at these. You can't keep doing business as you've done for 40 years. The money's not coming back from industry to fill the general fund. You have to tighten your spending controls and your cost controls so that you can be viable.
Same question, Jim Slazak.
We need to really monitor where the money goes, and which is a simple thing in business. In my business, I know when I go buy supplies, I know where it goes. I know my spending. If I have some inconsistencies, I'm going to go out of business. And I think that's what we're doing here in Genesee County, is we're going out of business because of all of our inconsistencies. We have to be consistent on what we do. In Lansing, our budgets, when they came out, we actually we read through every budget. And we had a group there that I sat with that we used to read line by line. And one budget in particular, we went back 5 budgets, had the same line, and we brought it up to leadership. $250,000 was on that line. It was a multi-billion-dollar budget, but nobody knew where that budget that went to. But it just kept getting paid out and paid out. We need to have leaders that can step up, and if there is an inconsistency, take control and fix the problem. Simple as that.
All right, thank you. That wraps up the questions. I want to say thanks to our panel. Really helps make these things go well when you have these premier political pundits that are well informed, like Paul Rosicki from Mott Community College. Paul, thank you so much for being here and being part of it. George Moss from the University of Michigan Flint. George, always a pleasure. And Blake Thorne. Blake, it was good working with you. Thanks for being part of this.
Thanks, Tom. Likewise.
From the M Live and the Flint Journal. And I want to acknowledge a couple of other people before we get to the candidates' final remarks. Captain Jack from RLX Sound, the sound you want, who's been wrestling to try and keep the audio in the room going for us this hour. And also our fastidious timekeeper and associate producer, Andrea Sutton. Thank you so much, as always, Andrea. And, of course, to the candidates. And I thank you both for being here. And with that, I think we started the opening remarks with David Martin, so we'll start the closing remarks with Jim Slazak.
Well, I'd like to thank you for actually having me out today to have this discussion, which I think is well needed, and it should be every election. And I think it would be nice to see actually the place filled up like the last hour, but it isn't. But
there's a little heat on the Democratic side of this.
They got a little heated, but the people that watch this show and listen to this show, I know are going to go out and vote. And the thing I'd like to say in closing is the people that do go out and vote, and you know who you are, you go vote. Don't just go out and vote. Bring someone with you. Tell someone else to vote. I always tell people, if you don't vote, don't complain. You don't have the right to complain. I don't care what position it is, from the city up to the federal, whatever level it is, you need to go vote. And it's simple as that. Vote.
All right, David Martin, you have 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Thank you, Tom. It has been fun. I don't get to participate in this type of venue very often, so it's nice practice, at least. I do enjoy it. I do like to voice get to hear myself say some of these things and look at people's reactions to kind of gauge it. And I do study liberty and leadership on a daily basis. I read a lot of blogs and have a schedule to feed myself with this stuff. And I think that if we have virtue and just the character of honesty and public office, we can have discord and we can have discussion. And I think if we can get one or two, not one, but if we can have at least 2 conservative voices on the Genesee County Board, then we can have motions made and seconded, and then have discussion. Where right now some of these topics aren't even brought up because they just are tabled or not even brought to be even mentioned. One thing we didn't mention was crime. I think that's tied with economics because we don't want to drive away and make us look unfavorable to anybody. I don't want in the 9th District, I don't want meth labs and crime coming out to steal from the 9th District because everything's been taken in the urban areas. So I think we do need to focus on crime. Michigan State Police are a big help with the budget. However, I think the sheriff, as a constitutional elected officer, needs to monitor all law enforcement in Genesee County and make sure all of them are ensuring that our rights are protected as they should be, and not just given over for protecting crime.
Well, thank you very much. The candidates, the Republicans in the primary for the 9th District, Genesee County Board of Commissioners seat, currently held by incumbent Democrat Peggy Adams. That primary, obviously, in August. The candidates, David Martin, Jim Slazak, I appreciate you both for participating in this. I think it's important for people to get to know the names they're going to see when they step into the voting booth, and when their friends do as well. And I don't know who said it, but I'm always very fond of quoting the guy who said decisions get made by people who show up. So I thank you very much for being part of this. Also want to thank the White Horse and their staff, and for all the people who were here in the audience, all of the technical people that are making this possible for radio, television, and the internet. And with that, we'll sign off, and we'll see you next time.
Have fun.